Giving all praises and all glory to the Most High Yah by saying hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Today we have another segment on marriage and relationships, hosted by Moray Yemuel, produced by Psalmist Studios on Seter Elion YouTube channel and Facebook. Thank you all for the continued support over the months. The channel has been growing. We appreciate you all. And today we're going to go ahead and not delay. We're going to go ahead and allow the Moray, an elder, to introduce himself. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. For those that don't know me, my name is, they call me Moray Yim or Elder Yim. I'm part of the House of Israel located at 1664 California Avenue. I've been serving Yah for nearly 40 years, just up under 40 years. And still going strong. Praise the Almighty Yah.
Hallelujah.
But our topic of discussion has to do with relationships, and hopefully those relationships will end up in marriage if in fact they're not already marriages. What I like to do is just give information, because I know we have a lot of struggling people in relationships, whether it be the male or the female. I know we all need improvement. The women need improvement, and the men need improvement as well. But we want to look at the bigger picture. We want to try to come to some conclusions and give some resolve on how, in fact, we can have better relationships. I do personally believe that a lot of times we have faulty relationships is because, first of all, men, this coming up now, and even in my time, probably never learned or were taught how to be husbands. And women were not taught how to be wives. I think we just been feeling our way through and hoping this work or hoping that work. And that's not always going to put us in the better situation.
Yes, sir.
So, and I think that stemmed from a lot of us also coming from single parent households. Because when you don't have that balance and you don't see the way the husband and the wife operates together in unity, if you only see the one parent, and mainly that one parent that we see is the woman, then we're in trouble. And that's just a fact. I know some people don't want to hear it. I know there's a saying that goes around: strong, independent black woman don't need no help, and because that's what it means. Independent means you don't need nobody. Well, I'm gonna tell you, those children or that child needs both parents so that child can have a balance, right? And we gotta quit putting the cart before the horse. The Almighty gave us a recipe for success, if you will, and that was that the woman ideally would have been a virgin, and then she was married, and her husband lived together and raised their children together.
Period.
But since we've been in this Western Hemisphere as part of our punishment, and we've been scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. But I'm speaking basically about the situation that's going on here in these United States, to where marriage now, it appears to be a business. And the government is in your business and runs your business. And a lot of males and females have been misinformed on how a marriage actually works. Right? So we're going to talk about some of those things today. But let me start out with this right here. Marriages are failing today here in these United States. Matter of fact, the new report is letting us know that about 60% of men between the ages of 18 and 29 years old are no longer wishing for a relationship, period.
No.
Because they're saying relationships with women just come with way too much baggage.
Oh.
And we're hearing this all over the place. They're saying they'd rather work and get themselves together, build up their finances, but they don't want to have to deal with the baggage. A lot of people, a lot of men are saying, and I have to agree, A lot of men are saying that the woman that they were trying to deal with just refused to accept any kind of accountability.
Very true.
And a man has to have his accountability, and a woman in the relationship also has to be held accountable. If only one person is held accountable, then there's a significant imbalance, and there's going to be a detriment to that relationship.
Can I speak on that real quick?
Let's talk on it.
Yes, sir. It's very funny that majority of the responses were the fact that women do not want to take accountability. One of the things that I've noticed in my short years of being here is I've noticed that men actually tend, when men get around other men, we tend to hold each other accountable. Some of my closest friends became my closest friends from simply holding me accountable, and I respected them and loved them for holding me accountable. Now, but when we get among social circles, often among women, that dynamic doesn't seem to be very present. I've seen women literally will cover for a woman while she goes out and cheats on her husband or her significant other. I've seen women, when another woman is venting to another woman, the woman that's receiving and doing the listening is not even speaking the truth to her.
There's a thing called women's code.
What's up with this
Women tend to cover for. Matter of fact, in today's time, you can go out and do the research yourself. You can't say anything at all negative concerning a black woman, because then they'll start saying you just don't like black women because you want to hold a black woman accountable. See, we should desire someone who look just like us, who look like our parents. You see what I'm saying? But you have a lot of black women today that is single that may want to get married, but they take their advice from their single black woman friends. Yeah. Girl, if I was you, I wouldn't. Why did he want you to do what? Oh, girl, I wouldn't do that.
I would never.
So why, instead of going to someone who's older, who's been putting in the work, who's been tried and tested, instead of going to somebody who's been married 25, 35, 40 years or so and just getting some wisdom? Because marriage is in fact work.
Yes, it is.
But if you don't have both parties willing to put in that work, then somebody is going to suffer more so than the other in that relationship, because the balance is not going to be there. But if a woman listens to her single female friend, or her single female friends about relationships, and they don't really have relationships, that's going to say a lot about that woman who's requesting their input, or listening to that input. And I feel sad and sorry for the man that's dealing with that woman who gets her input and uses the input from her single friends.
Yeah, man, that's terrible. And that's one of the things that I'm saying, and it dawned on me just recently, man. Like, women, if you have friends that are going through relationship issues, do your best to encourage them to actually take accountability. And when I say accountability, everyone has to look and see what they've done wrong to possibly cause issues in the situation, because usually it is both-sided.
Right.
But if only one person, as Elder Yim said, when you have one person willing to put in the work, and I see accountability as us, as the relationship evolving, as actually we're putting work into the relationship by holding each other accountable. If I come home and if I cook for my family, and every day I cook spaghetti and spaghetti and garlic bread, and I cook this 365 days a year, right? Because this is my favorite meal to cook. And say if my wife would come to me and say, hey, I think we should try something different. If I didn't go and shun her for that and be like, no, to me, that's preventing the relationship from evolving. I just use that as a small example. We have to hold each other accountable in every aspect, in every avenue, so the relationship can then move forward and progress. Go ahead. I'll let you.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, it's just something I've noticed when we refuse to hold each other accountable. Not refuse to hold each other accountable, but when one person doesn't hold themselves accountable in a relationship, it hinders the progress of the relationship.
Well, I personally believe that all couples notice I said should be able to talk about anything from A to Z without it being a problem. But if we haven't learned how to communicate, if we haven't learned how to
And that's a
listen,
big one right there.
then those conversations get to be very hectic for one of the two parties.
Yes, yes.
Again, we have to learn how to communicate and we have to learn how to listen. Those are two different things. And a lot of times when you're with let me give an example here. And I'm saying this because a lot of men that I talk to, and even the research that I've put in and to find out like what's going on with men and relationships in general here in this country, it's saying that the woman, whether it be a black woman or a white woman, but I'm more concerned about people who look like me today.
Yes, sir.
It's saying that the woman is just too difficult. And even the young folk are seeing it. Like I say, over 60% of men, over 60% between the ages of 18 and 29 said it ain't worth it. It ain't worth it. They'd rather spend time to themselves that,
What you think about that? Should we be spending more time working on ourselves anyway?
I think we definitely should be working on ourselves constantly, even when we're in a relationship, because that's a work that never actually stops. Because as the world changes, we have to adapt with it. See, we can't pigeonhole ourselves and stay in a certain way. Now, when I say pigeonhole, I don't mean like leaving my traditional values of marriage.
Right.
Those are going to stay in place, but learning how to adapt to other things. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Because the times are changing. Like, give you an example. My wife, she would be the one who would generally go to the grocery store. And, back when I was much younger and I did certain things, going to the store or whatnot, prices weren't like they are today.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right? So you can give X amount of dollars and I tell my wife to go to the grocery store. And then I'm looking like, where's all the food at? And she'll say she spent the money, but you see what I'm saying? So inflation is there. So we have to be able to adapt to whatever the world throws at us. And the only way we're going to be able to do that with a mate or with a family is that we're all going to have to be on the same page. We're going to have to know how to communicate. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And communicating is, you can say whatever it is that you need to say. It's how you say it. Yeah. And then we should never find ourselves in a situation to where we're just waiting on that other person to be quiet so that we can respond. Because when you're communicating, you should be trying to get resolve. You see what I'm saying? You should be listening so that you can give a resolve instead of going back and forth. And this is for all people, whether it's a business relationship or whether it's a family relationship or a husband and wife, boyfriend, girlfriend. Not that I'm condoning boyfriend, girlfriends. I know it starts someplace though. But we need to learn how to listen so that we can respond appropriately so that it don't be a back and forth that turns into an argument. Yeah. Because if we have an issue, we want to get the issue resolved. It should not never be about winning an argument.
It seems like we being more reactive in our communication nowadays.
Exactly.
Like they talk about being proactive and reactive. When somebody says something that you don't like, it instantly triggers an emotion instead of seeing it from the other.
You said
it lacks empathy. It lacks empathy. You have to understand where the other person is coming from.
Exactly.
And not get emotional about it.
And you said the key word. Now with I don't know who come up with all these different sayings and meanings, but now we got triggers for this and triggers for that. Back when I was coming up, we didn't use like he's been triggered, she's been triggered. That means we have an imbalance if everything is triggering us. Yeah. That means we've been so watered down. We're not the same. Like each generation, it appears to me, is just being weaker than the next generation.
Oh yeah.
And it's done by design. And the
social
system.
Engineering.
There you go. The system is having a good time.
It's grinding.
That's smiling because they're that it's working.
Yeah.
You see, if you ever want to conquer a people, the first thing you got to do is divide them.
Mm-hmm.
That old saying, divide and conquer,
It's true.
that's true even to this
Powerful,
very
too.
day.
Yeah.
That's how we got so many black men out the household and incarcerated. You see what I'm saying? The welfare system, it played a role in that.
Mm-hmm.
And people who know about this, they understand it.
Mm-hmm.
See, when a woman first went on welfare, you better not have nothing that pertained to a man in that house. They better not come in there doing no inspection, find a pair of men's shoes or anything in there. And so it's easy these days for a woman, especially a woman with children, to get assistance from the government, but not like so with a man. So we have to be very careful of who we actually put in our business. If people want to have successful relationships, they need to go to the foundation. They need to go to the founder, to the originator of marriage, which is who? The Most High, the creator of heaven and earth. He's the one who ordained marriage and said what a marriage should be.
You said something that was so key that I gotta comment on.
Go ahead.
Because it's we've all grew up in not all of us, but I know I've experienced living in public housing before, and I see the conditions out there, right? And it was by choice. It was not because of circumstance that fell upon me, but it was by the choices I made while I experienced that. And what you said was so key about the government interfering in our relationships in a subtle way, like through welfare. In the past, was through welfare and government assistance and food stamps and subsidized housing and all of these benefits that the government would give to women. It has created an environment where women no longer have to be accountable because we live in a society where they can actually benefit from not being accountable.
You're a wise young man. Keep going.
They can go and get a job. They don't have to lean on their man for strength. At that point, if a woman has to go out and get a job, at that point, whether it be a father or a husband, that person's job has been null and void if they have to, right? In some circumstances, you may have to. I'm not gonna. That wasn't my main point. But the point I wanted to make is that women aren't. We live in a society where women do not have to be accountable and they benefit from it. They can go and get a high-paying job. They can go and get subsidized housing. They don't have to worry about a man buying a house, providing a house for them because they already got one from the government. They can go get food stamps. They can go have sex out of wedlock, and nobody holds them accountable because virginity is not the standard anymore, right? They can go have babies, and not only with all of these benefits that they have, the one that is the most prominent is the fact that the government will literally give them rights over the children before they give it to the father, who is the original protector of these children.
But let me ask you a
So we
question.
live in a society that's actually perpetuating these conditions.
Based on what you were just saying, and you were just saying the system pretty much will give a woman the benefit of having those children, right? But is that according to the Creator? Is that according to the one who ordained marriage, or the one who made the foundation of the earth and the rules governing relationships? And this relationship that I'm speaking of is marriage. So who should actually have the children?
The men.
So why is it that, so why
Not
is
the men,
it
the
that,
fathers.
there you go. So why is it in this system, even on the dollar bill, they have "In God we trust," but they're not trusting in God? There is obviously a separation between church and state when it comes to doing what's right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's hypocrisy.
See, and here's the thing. The world in itself is manipulative. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of times when, because I've spoken on manipulative tactics that's used against men by females here. So some people are definitely paying attention, because it's just being passed on down from generation to generation. And they're taking us away from the Almighty. A lot of times today a woman don't even know, and this is not to be disrespectful, because we're going to talk about some basic things that we should know, right? Can we do that?
Oh yeah, easy.
So I was getting right. I got so much in my brain right now. I just about forgot what I was getting ready to say, but I'm sure it's going to come back around to me. But let's say when a person starts to get into a relationship, and I'm saying each party, the woman should be vetting the guy, and the guy should be vetting the woman. You agree with that?
Oh yeah.
So here's one thing that a man definitely needs to find out if he's interested in a woman today.
Okay.
Is she combative?
That's a good one.
And the reason I say that, because it may depend on the way a person was brought up. Because again, if we come from a single parent household, and even in some cases, if you come from a 2-parent household, but the parents were always going back and forth at it, that can make a difference in a child's opinion on how they want to live, if they should be combative. Because, see, the best teacher has always been example. So if a child growing up seeing mom and dad, even if they're in the same house, constantly going at it, that's teaching the child that this is normal behavior, when in fact it's abnormal behavior. And then again, if you come up in a single parent household that's ran by mom, then 9 times out of 10, you're not going to see the way that husband and that wife should actually be interacting together for the benefit of that union and for the raising of the child or children. So you have to find out, is that woman combative? Not only do you have to find out, is she combative, you need to find out if she can adhere to a man's leadership. So so if it was you, that man, or myself, or this man here who's interested in that woman, if they were going to be married, is she going to consider him the head of that house, or is she going to say, no, this is a 50-50 partnership? Because if this is a 50-50 partnership, then who's heading the house?
Nobody.
So in a marriage, I know that the creator of heaven and earth, I know he made a statement in scriptures about who should be the head of that house. So if nobody's the head of the house, if you hear a burglar just breaking a window, entering into your house in the middle of the daggone night while you're sleeping, should the man get up and say, hey, baby, go downstairs and take care of that? We partners. Find out what's going on. Or is that man going to play his role as a man, as the head of that house, and make sure that his family's secure, and he's going to take that role? See, we got things all backwards now. But see, if we're going to be backwards, we got to be consistent with it now, right? So we can't flip-flop. When the good things is there, then she can do it. And when the bad things there, then he got to take care of it, you see. So we just got to, we got to be very careful when we getting into relationships. We need to, that's why I'm always saying, take your time. Take your time. Because in a lot of cases, in the day's time, when you enter into a relationship or you call yourself dating someone as a prospect for possible marriage, that should be the ultimate goal anyway. You have to find out if that's the individual or the representative. Now, if it's actually the individual, it's going to stay consistent. If you're talking with the representative, after the representative get comfortable, then that's when you're gonna meet the real person.
That's for real. That's real tough. It seemed like to me, we better off not getting married in this land. And the reason I say that is because it's a fail safe. Because at the end of the day, you don't know at what point a woman is going to change and flip the script. I'm not educated on all the laws of the land, but I know one thing is for sure: when people get married today, whether they're Hebrew, Muslim, or Christian, or whatever spirituality or background you come from, I know majority of the people getting married in this land are not getting married under the governance of the Most High's laws. Marriage today is not being done under the laws of the Most High.
You're right.
It's under the disguise. Even when we have a marriage ceremony and a pastor comes and says through life, it's in the disguise of something being holy. But today it's not being the way it's being governed today is not according to divine laws. It's being governed according to what man says or what the United States government and their laws say. So to me, honestly, unless you're dealing with a person with, I would say, 90% integrity, or you're in a community where you guys have a certain level of leverage and you have a strong sisterhood, a strong elderhood, or a strong brotherhood, I would not encourage getting married.
Well, it's sad to say the things you say is absolutely truth, because right now, to give an example, and I've already stated, not only ages 18 to 29 are walking away, you have a lot of different people throughout this country that's saying they don't want to deal with certain situations, especially marriage, because the benefit of marriage is not the way that it should be. The benefit of marriage should be for the man and the woman. And even in today's dating, before you get to a marriage, a lot of women are demanding that men do things for them as a girlfriend that should be reserved only for a wife.
That's true too.
So a lot of women want a man to come into a boyfriend-girlfriend type relationship, paying their bills, getting their hair, and they'll say it. The women will clearly be all over the internet saying these are requirements just for dating. Then you have to ask the man, what's his benefit? And the man can't find any benefit. Today, in today's society, it's expensive, first of all, dating. And then when you have women who's insisting on being taken to places, expensive places that they wouldn't even take themselves to. And they've all been taught that they're queens. Well, a queen should know how to respect her king. You see, a queen is not going to have the right to demand anything. Do you see what I'm saying? Because who rules? The king or the queen?
The king.
And that's just in real life. But see, now we don't have no real kings right now, right? Just like we don't have no real queens either.
Especially not in our
and like I say, these are just terms of endearment. Again, like I've said before, my son, if I was to use all terms of endearment, he'd be the little prince. My daughter would be the princess, right? My wife would be the queen, and say I would be the king. But who's still supposed to be the ruler? Is it the prince? Is it the princess? Is it the queen? Or is it the king?
It's the king.
You see what I'm saying? The Almighty has established an order, and the fact of the matter is we are a people who've been completely out of order for generations upon generations, for decades, for centuries, just for as long as we can go back. We've been a people that have been completely out of order. Now, I know what I think I just came to mind what I was going to say before. I said a lot of women, unfortunately, don't know the definition, or the biblical definition, should I say. And if they do know it, they act like they don't, a lot of them. But they don't know the biblical definition of a whore or a whore. Because we got a lot of women now all over the internet who's literally saying, with microphones in front of audience and whatnot, that they would rather be a whore than to be a man's wife. That way they can do what they want to do and don't have to be held accountable. They say they would rather have a child and not be married and raise that child because they don't have time to be raising no husband.
Raising no husband.
In other words, getting the husband to do exactly as they want them to do. See, I said this before, and I'll say it again before anybody can see me. When a man gets married, and I'm going to be very clear with this, I'm not going to stutter, that a man, because when a man who's to be the head of his house, according to the Almighty, the one who ordained marriage, when he takes a wife, his wife should become his helpmate, right? Meaning wherever this man falls short, His wife is to assist him and be his helper to get things done, right? I'm not saying she should take the full burden of doing the things that he should be doing.
Oh no.
But those things that he's unable to get done for whatever reason, where he needs
She's
some help
supposed to
at,
fill that void.
she's supposed to fill that void. So let me make this statement here.
And that's, you know what, man, that right there, what you said, I'm gonna let you finish this. I want you to forget what you
Okay.
said. Yeah.
So in saying that, this man, like I've heard women before talk to other women, oh yeah, baby, I got him trained. But let's keep this real now. According to scripture, according to the Most High, it's just the opposite. Because if this woman is to be my helpmate, I need to instruct her on the
Ooh.
things that I need help with. Those things that are now designated for her. So I would have to, in fact, train her on those things that need to be done. Just like a woman went to a new job, and she was going to be doing this job, and she's going to have her manager, somebody train her on those things that's going to be her responsibility, those things that she needs to do. But the fact of the matter is, because a lot of us come from those single parent households, and generally that mom who runs that household was resistant in a lot of cases, okay? Now the child don't want to learn, which is, now this child is older and she's married, right? Or she's looking to get married, but she don't want to take instruction from the man that she's going to be married to. That's a problem in itself. Now, if anybody is disputing anything that I'm actually saying right now, they can always go back to their scriptures. Because as a matter of fact, and we brought this particular scripture up on more than one occasion, which is Genesis, the 3rd chapter, the 16th verse, where the Creator was speaking to the woman, which was the wife, not the man, which was the husband. So I'm making it clear. We're not talking about boyfriend, girlfriend type stuff. And he told this woman that her desire should be unto her husband and he should rule over her. So in other words, if she's his helpmate, if she's his wife, then he should be able to instruct her on the things that she needs to do to help him out. Right? And if she is not willing to do those things, then she should not actually be qualified to be a wife today. Because see, women, they've come up with this Disney mentality. Happy wife, happy life. How about happy husband, happy wife? You see what I'm saying? Huh? Because then, and I say that because that's going to cut down.
Happy husband, happy wife.
There you go.
That makes perfect sense.
You see what I'm saying? Because here's the thing. If the wife is doing things that are pleasing the husband, then he's going to make sure that she's rewarded greatly. So she's going to be happy.
Period. Yeah.
So if we keeping this in the right context, because when you have a submissive wife, and this is about marriage, this ain't about none of our personal life. We trying to educate the people today. So if you're looking to get married, if a woman is willing to take instruction from her husband as to be his helpmate, if she is fulfilling her obligation, if he's a good man, he's going to make sure that woman is straight. Because that's not going to be the average woman today. The average woman today is not trying to hear that because, see, in our communities, and we know we come from some messed up type situations and backgrounds collectively. You see what I'm saying? And so we don't see this demonstrated often. So nowadays, if a woman is cooking for her husband, there's going to be, and say she put it on the internet. She's cooking dinner for her family and she puts it on the internet. I guarantee you can look at some of the daggone comment section and other women going to be getting on this woman for providing food for her husband and her children. You cooking? Can't he cook? Now, granted, I would never take anything away from anybody. There are a lot of guys who like to cook. You see what I'm saying? There are a lot of guys who like to cook. There's a lot of guys who like to do this, that, and the other.
Women cooking nowadays, you better cook.
You see, I'm not necessarily a cook. I rely on my wife and my daughter for the most part. Now, back in my day, I did cook. I did, and I know if I needed to,
Yeah.
I really could, but I've gotten up out of it because I wanted to play the role of provider and taking
Yeah.
care of other
Naturally,
responsibilities.
naturally,
You
I
see
feel
what I'm
like
saying?
that's our role anyway.
You
You know what I'm
see, and
saying?
even in my house, my
Yeah.
wife she's bought groceries as well. You see what I'm saying? But I'm just trying to say what a husband's role is. And a lot of women, if there's anyone on there who disagree with what I'm saying, that I'm using these particular words for a reason because now they say they have triggers. I want to see who's going to be triggered by what the Almighty says.
Yeah.
Right? I want to see who's going to be triggered by what the Most High says. So if the
Oh
woman
man.
is in fact supposed to be the helpmate, right? If in fact the woman is supposed to be a husband's helpmate, then she should be willing to receive instruction from her husband as to what those things are that he needs her to be able to do from that household. Now, a lot of women will take certain things and they'll run with it in a good way. In other words, he don't have to say a whole lot because she's already going to know that she wants to, she has a mentality, what can I do to please my husband? So, for example, say your wife, and I'm only saying this for the sake of example. Say your wife know you like a particular toothpaste, right? But she likes a completely different toothpaste. As a helpmate, right? You can go out and anytime you go to get some toothpaste, it's like your toothpaste never run out. Why do it never run out? Because she's already made sure that she saw that it was getting low. She already went and replaced it for you. See what I'm saying? It's those little things. Well, with me anyway, it's those little things that count. It ain't never the big things. And I'm telling you, ladies, those little things will count a lot with any relationship that you're in with a serious individual, with a serious man. And you will be rewarded for those things. But we have to get away from this combative type mentality. And I'm saying that because a lot of relationships in this country are falling apart. And y'all don't take my word for it. Get out on the interweb, get out on social media, get out on any of these daggone systems that will show you what's going on in the world today. And relationships are suffering.
I think another reason why they suffering, and I'm gonna go ahead and shift right here because I don't think it's just the woman's fault.
It's not just the woman's fault. Go ahead.
So I'm gonna speak on behalf of men and women.
There you
I ain't
go.
gonna exclude women either, but I'm gonna speak on behalf of men and women.
There you go.
One of the things that I've seen is that we don't do enough work on ourselves inwardly. And when I say the work on ourselves inwardly, the Almighty says in the book through the psalmist, he says, "Where there is no fear, there is no change." We should be constantly trying to improve ourselves. As I gave a testimony earlier about the situation with the spaghetti. If I cook spaghetti every single day, well, eventually, if I'm eating the spaghetti every day, I'm gonna get sick. So if, like, for years, black people didn't have we as a black people, we had terrible diets. Terrible. The stuff that we consume already is bad. So if we're eating a whole bunch of meats every day, we're eating the wrong foods. How is this helping? How is this replenishing your household and the world, the earth? So I feel like we're just not doing enough. We're too distracted nowadays. We're distracted with TVs. We're distracted with Facebook and smartphones. We're distracted with computers. We're just completely distracted from working. We're distracted with our jobs even. We're even distracted with our jobs, I would say. We still have to make time to learn new skills that can better the relationship. And when I say skills, skills are not just physical. Skills are intelligence. Skills are, as you said, learning how to communicate properly. That's one of my biggest things. If you don't know how to communicate properly, that is a very, very serious thing to me.
That's big for a
Yeah,
lot of people who are having
yeah,
communication mishaps. You
yeah,
know,
yeah. Because I know how I can get. You know what I'm saying? And I don't like.
and
I
that
don't
happens
like
on
going
both.
there. I
It
don't
happens
like.
on both parts,
Yeah,
though,
it does.
men and women. It
Yes,
happens
yes,
on
yes.
both
It
parts,
does. It
both parts.
does.
So men and
Yeah,
women, we've got, and you bring up a beautiful point,
yeah,
man. A beautiful point. Men and women, again, you can't say that enough. It's imperative for the sake of relationships that we learn how to communicate in a better
yeah.
way. Because if men and women continually communicate in ways that just
Toxic.
are not
Yeah,
constructive,
yeah.
then you're going to be in the same place. And that's the definition of insanity.
Insanity. Oh
So
man,
something has to
something gotta
change.
change.
And go ahead with that, because you hit that nail on the head.
Yeah, no, that's just how I feel. You know what I'm saying? I was talking to one sister this week, and through text, and I was giving her some credit because she's one of the sisters that I really respect because she does a lot of work on herself. She writes books. She's very in tune with bettering herself. And I feel like as a man or a woman, you know, before we get into relationships, we have to remember. And I know the video getting choppy right now, so I'm gonna give it a second. Give it a second. I apologize to my internet audience too about that. But anyway, I'm gonna move forward. Like I was saying, I was giving this sister her props because she does a lot of work on herself, and I feel like I know, you know, before we even get into relationships, who were we before we even got into a relationship? Because a lot of times, as you said, the mask starts to fall off. We shouldn't even be entering a relationship with any mask or any dishonesty. We should come as is.
There you
You know
go.
what I'm saying? And I think that was one of my mistakes, you know, with my past relationships is that I walked in with a mask when really as a man, the best way to get respect with whether it be man or woman is just to be honest. That's how you get respect. But we have to do the work on ourselves. And we have to understand that the Almighty, when we go before the Almighty on Judgment Day, He's going to judge us for our actions. You're not going to be able to use what she did, what this person did. We all have goals that we in a role to play. You know what I'm saying? We have a role to play as men and as women. And the Almighty has guidelines on how our role is supposed to be played. So He's going to be the judge at the end of the day. My whole, me doing the work on myself is me ultimately just becoming a better man. But if we're in a situation where we're not trying to better ourselves, it's only a matter of time.
And see,
It's only a matter of time.
that should have been the whole topic for today's discussing and dealing with relationships.
Yeah.
Is how do we go about bettering ourselves?
Yeah.
See, a lot of times people don't even consider that because people tend to think I'm all right just the way I am. It's the other person that needs to change. It's not me that needs to change. So all of us, we know who we are, and we should at least consider how can I be a better version of me?
There you go.
So if everybody went into a relationship with that mentality, matter of fact, even before you get into a relationship, that should be a constant ongoing thing that we deal with on a daily basis.
Yes.
Trying to be the better version of self.
Yes.
Every day.
Yes.
And if we don't really do that, are we actually growing? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Are we maturing?
Yeah.
If I planted a tomato seed, I never nurtured it. I never gave it the sunlight. I never gave it the water. I never gave it good soil. It's gonna just die. You see what I'm saying? It's not gonna grow.
Yes,
and
sir.
then if it grow a little bit, it's gonna wither. It's not gonna be the better version of what it could be.
Yes, sir.
So we actually have to give ourselves those things, and we have the ability to do it. It's just that sometimes when people look at self, if we don't like what we see, sometimes we don't know how to go about making changes. So we don't make any changes.
Right.
And we can't just think that the way I am is good enough for me, so it's got to be good enough for you. That's
I
a
used to think like that too. I ain't gonna say I never thought like that, but I used to accept people who thought like that.
well, and a lot of us have,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
a lot of us
I can't
have
accept
been
it.
that way.
I can't
You
accept it
know,
no more. Yeah,
it's see. I think me actually going into the military
yeah,
at a very young age helped me to start growing and allowed me to become whoever I am today. It aided in that because I was able to see different things. I wasn't limited to a certain community
I
or
think
a
that's our
certain
problem,
state.
Elder.
You see what I'm saying?
You think that's our problem?
So,
Yeah.
so I got a bigger version of the world.
There you go. There you go.
You
Yep,
see, and
yep, yep.
I got a chance to see that people communicate differently. People live differently. There's a lot of things that people do differently from even other cultures. You see what I'm saying? So it gave me a broader perspective. And a lot of times we have just this very narrow
Narrow. Yeah,
perspective
yeah,
because
yeah.
we have. There was a time when someone asked me several years ago, who lived right there in Lincoln Heights, how do you get to Hartwell? No, and
I can believe it. I can
this
believe
is
it's
very
people out here like that.
very
Yeah.
serious.
Yeah.
So that let me know that this person was limited. Let me put it that way.
That's sad.
Was very limited.
That's really sad.
Right there in Lincoln Heights, asking, "How do you get to Hartwell?" Now, this was not a child. Do you see what I'm saying? This wasn't a child. Now, I can't say for certain if this is somebody. I believe it was somebody who was brought up in the neighborhood, but haven't really been too far from.
That's crazy.
Now, it might seem kind of difficult in these times to believe somebody hadn't been that far away from home, but this is a true scenario. So if we don't experience things, then we're going to be limited in what we know
That's very true.
and how we respond to different things. Now, you're right. A lot of our issues do actually, as for men, do come from females. However, I got to be honest and say a lot of males will go into relationships on some bull.
Yeah, we will.
On some bull and try to manipulate their way.
Yeah, that's
But see, when it comes to manipulation, ain't nobody gonna beat a woman when it comes to that manipulation. But a lot of these guys, they're going to a relationship knowing that they don't want to do right, right? They might want to have just like a rotation or something like that. And we talked about something similar to that before. But I would advise anybody who wants to have a productive relationship to go into that relationship honestly.
Yeah.
Why waste your time or somebody else's time with deception? Because if a person, ladies, if you find a guy coming into a relationship with you and you find out that he's just deceitful or not honest, cut that off. Cut it off right away. Because it's only going to make you bitter in the long run. And so you don't need somebody else projecting something onto you, which is going to become maybe a toxic type situation, and it's going to alter who you are.
Yeah, and that's generally what happens too.
Yeah, yeah.
It's easier to happen for women. I'm gonna say that.
Yeah. But see, here's the thing.
Mechanisms.
And guys are, and just like some women are notorious. So this is a male and a female thing right there, just really being deceptive and not having honest relationships where people are trying to see what they can get out of a relationship before somebody else get them. And that's a wrong mentality. Either you're going into a relationship for the right reasons, or you shouldn't even be in it. Try to enter into a relationship. But again, when it comes to relationships, I have to say, we got to quit limiting ourselves to this boyfriend, girlfriend type mentality.
Yeah.
Because that's a violation of the Almighty. And all we're doing is polluting one another when we do that. Because that means I'm going to be with this one for a time, and then I'm moving on to that one, then I'm moving on to this one, and then moving on to that one. And that wasn't about the Almighty's business. That was never meant to be a part of the program. And so we are a treacherous people with this. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear the truth because we're creatures of habit. We've been used to doing certain things a certain way. But if we keep doing these dishonorable things that don't give us any integrity and it weakens our value, then we need to actually stop it. We really do. And I'm not trying to preach or anything. I'm just saying the facts, what's true. If we want to have a successful relationship and have that relationship turn into something meaningful and lasting, then we've got to have some integrity going in. Right?
Period.
And if we enter into a relationship and we have an agenda that's not going to be popular if the other person knew, then we know we're going into that relationship, ass backwards. We're doing the wrong thing.
That's true.
If I'm going into a relationship and I'm trying to hide my agenda from you because I know it's not something that you would agree with or it wouldn't be acceptable to you, then that means I'm not right. I shouldn't even be trying to be in any relationship. And we do have people like that. So I suggest that, again, that we have long conversations. I wouldn't even recommend just because somebody, now today they say because a person is cute, this, that, and the other, oh, you can get it on the first date. You can do this, you can do that. I would even recommend not even being physical in any kind of way, not even a kiss for a certain amount of time. Because if you don't know that person, you don't know what that person just got through doing. You know what I'm saying? And that's be the male or the female. You don't know certain things. And then you got certain people who move by saying, I've seen this too, where they're like a person based on what they call their vibe. You give off that good energy, that I like. And so that's how they decide if they want to get involved with something, but don't know nothing about that person. It's just that when they met, they like that person's energy. Anybody can be who you want them to be for as long as you need them to be, or for as long as they feel like they need to be that way, if it's going to be to their benefit. You see what I'm saying? So today we just pretty much having like some open discussions on things. So, but they all dealing with relationships. So what else you got on your mind that we can chop it up?
Talked about we talked about a lot, really. One of the things that you just said that I really respect and I appreciate your honesty in that is that the Almighty did not ordain whoredom. Period. It just ain't no excuse for it.
That's a death penalty.
Yeah. It just ain't no excuse for it.
You think they understood what I was saying? Was I clear enough that if a woman lies with a man that she is not married to, according to the Creator, regardless of who you believe the Creator is, it's not a good sentence for you, regardless of who you are, for the male or the female. And for the woman, it's a death sentence. It's a death sentence. For the man, it's a death sentence too, because any violation of the Creator's law is ultimately a death sentence. I mean, if we're looking at holistically,
and I like what you said in your lesson too. He gonna be prepared his back in that same day.
There you go. There you go.
Break that down for him. that was a good one, though. I like it.
We as people, most of us don't understand the whole concept of time. And actually, man was meant to live forever, but we didn't do right.
That's right.
So the Almighty cut us down on our life expectancy. And even Methuselah, I don't know if a lot of young folk know that name, but you can find it in the genealogy in the book of Genesis where we talk about, the length of people's years and how long they live. I believe Methuselah, if I'm not mistaken, lived to be 969 years old. But even at 969 years old, and a guy answered this question that I asked yesterday beautifully. He understood that but a day to the Almighty is 1,000 years.
Sure.
So when I said we're going to get our punishment in that self-same day, that means we going to get it. We definitely going to get our punishment. And we don't get an opportunity to live to be 969. I mean, you can look through the genealogy and find where man would be 500 years old going out to war.
That's right.
You see, matter of fact, there was a couple, who was that got married and his wife was older than him. And they were like, how old was, man? Matter of fact, I think I was having that discussion with you where his wife was like, 50 50 years older, 100 years older, or something.
In the scripture?
I'd have to think about that. I was having a conversation, and I actually wrote that down. I don't want to say exactly who it was and be wrong about it, but I was going over the particular scripture, and I discovered that she was a lot older than what he was, but people were living a lot longer.
But she still look good, too.
Yeah,
Bro.
and it wasn't nothing for a person to be 300-400 years old, still going out to war.
That's a fact.
Eyes hadn't got dim or anything like that. But yeah, this that explanation of getting that punishment, that reward, if you want to call it, because we're going to get a reward for good and we're going to get that reward for evil. And a lot of times we as people, we don't consider that. A lot of times we don't know how to count our blessings. We don't realize waking up in the morning is the first blessing of the day. Matter of fact, I wholeheartedly believe that a lot of people think that we're supposed to wake up once we lay down and go to sleep. No, waking up is a blessing. It's absolutely a blessing, and so if we want to keep on waking up, that means we need to get the creator of heaven and earth some act right, some willful act right by keeping his commandments. This thing that I wear around my neck, these are what we call the 10 commandments that the Almighty Yah wrote on 2 tables of stone with his fingers. And those 10 commandments together become a covenant. A covenant is an agreement. So if I broke one of these commandments, I've actually broken the agreement.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And there's certain things that we just don't understand.
It's just God's mercy and doing
It's it. Oh, and it's only people that are watching this podcast or that will watch it. We're only alive this day because of the Most High's mercy, not because we deserved it, not because we're all of that, because it only takes one transgression to be taken away. Period. So I need us to remember when we're being whoremongers, we're playing the roles of whores willfully, when we're just doing things that are in violation of the Almighty's law because we've never learned better. And see, if we never learn better, then most likely we're not going to do better. But see, even when we hear some things, if it sounds like there's any meat to it, we should take it upon ourselves to investigate it because it could cost us our life if we don't. So y'all don't always have to take my word for anything. Matter of fact, I suggest people don't take my word for it. Do the research yourself. Because when we find a thing, when we find out a matter ourselves, we enjoy it so much better because we know we searched that matter out and we found what the truth was. You see? And y'all, that expression, the truth will set you free. The truth will change you.
It will.
The truth will correct us.
It will.
Those who like breathing anyway. But, you know what I'm saying? Because this really gets deep because a lot of times we're abusers of ourselves and we talk about other people abusing us. But if I constantly abuse myself, why would I stop somebody else from abusing me?
Dang.
And see, I'm putting that in a way that maybe some people are not really getting clarity on it. If I don't treat myself right, if I haven't learned how to love myself, how am I going to show somebody else how to love me? In other words, if I'm going against the things that would be productive for me, right? Then I'm only inviting people to do the same thing to me that I'm doing to myself.
That's very true.
I know a lot that probably going over some people's heads.
That was deep. And it is. I know it is.
Give you a good example. Say like if you had a 15-year-old daughter, right? Say 14, 15-year-old daughter.
Okay.
Right? And your daughter had a boyfriend. Say you don't know you're a Hebrew Israelite though. Okay. So you wasn't raised with that mentality. So I'm trying to give us something because a lot of people, they don't know who they are. Right?
That's right.
So say you got the average person. They don't really know who they are. So they got a 14, 15-year-old daughter. They done allowed that 14, 15-year-old daughter to date a little fella, right? Say you came home from work early one day and you heard it quiet. So you seen that something ain't quite right. And you go up the steps quietly and you open your daughter's door. and your daughter was just getting out. This is not your daughter. This, you know what I'm saying? But I'm saying this for an example.
Hypothetically, yeah.
There you go. Hypothetically, you open up the door, and the daughter is getting ready, just right at the cusp of being ready to engage in some sexual activity. Say she's 14. Say he's 15 or 16, right? Your first instinct is going to be to probably take her head off, right? Your first instinct. So I'm saying this because if a 14 or 15-year-old person don't know how to respect themselves, if they, put it this way, if they disrespect themselves, even with the conversation, say the boy, say he's whispering all those things that he really want to do to her, and she's entertaining that conversation. Once she first started entertaining that conversation, which is actually disrespecting her, but she don't understand it yet, right? If she entertains it, what's going to stop him from continually disrespecting her, right? Now, and I say that to lead up, say like, if you see what I'm saying? So if you walked into a room and they were just getting ready to get engaged in something, heads is going to roll. Yeah. But we have to understand this would have been on both parts because she didn't understand her value and she didn't understand that she was allowing him to disrespect her more because she disrespected herself by even entertaining the conversation. Am I making sense?
Oh, yeah.
So we get older. See, we might have done some things when we were younger because we didn't understand our value. But that old saying goes, when we learn better, we do better. Yeah. But what happens when we learn better, but we don't do better? We destroy ourselves. And other people are watching our example. Say if our children watching our example.
Yeah. That's why, man, you know what? That's why I got to be twice as hard on myself. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm hard on the ones I love. I ain't hard, but I'm just honest with the ones I love. But I got to be twice as hard on myself because just you saying certain things right now, I know I ain't got it all the way together. You know,
well, I'm gonna say I'm hard on myself, and you know, I try not to break my sons or my young son. I try not to break their spirit, right. But sometimes I have to break that will that they have. You know what I'm saying?
I think I do.
But what I'm saying is, if they think a certain way, I have to try to get them in a mentality, especially my son, because one day, he's gonna grow to be a man. Yeah. So I have to get him into a mind state to where he's learning the things that he needs to know as he grows into his manhood.
Yeah, yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm repetitive.
Yeah.
Because I need to see results. And I believe most fathers, especially, and I want to believe that all fathers love their children, although I didn't feel that way growing up myself. You see what I'm saying? But I want to know that when I'm no longer in existence, that I've taught my children things that's going to be a benefit for them in their life. So I'm a guy who will just drop random information sometimes. Not only to my wife, but to my children as well. So if I'm not here, hopefully you'll remember some of the things that I said, because the things that I'm going to be telling, those seeds that I'm going to be dropping, you're going to need to know those things. See, I'm not talking to them like I'm just getting ready to kick the bucket right now or something. But I'm significantly older.
No, I mean, regardless of how old you are, just Solomon said a wise man thinks about the day of his death.
And that's why I'm saying it, because I'm not a young, you know what I'm saying? Right. I'm damn near 18, 17 years older than my wife. You see what I'm saying? And then I still have children at almost 66. I still got a 15 and a 16-year-old. So I'm going to be dropping off little random bits and pieces of information like, this is over there, or this is how you do this, so whatever. You see what I'm saying?
That mental
just there you go. And I've been accustomed to doing that for a very long time. It's been a habit with me.
I gotta give you a hand on that, and shout out to all the fathers out there, because and I had my father growing up as well, and I was actually meditating on him a couple of days ago. One of the things, you know, he like, of course he's older now, but when we were young, he was hard. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people didn't know that, but in certain when it came to certain things, doing things a certain way, when it came to taking care of the house, when it came to doing like very specific things that was important to him, oh yeah, he didn't play. And I think that's what really raised me to be the man that I am today. You know what I'm saying? And my brother as well. So shout out to all the fathers out there. That legacy is not just it's not really even like the scriptures talk about an inheritance. One of the greatest things that David told Solomon in the day before he died, as Solomon became the king, he told Solomon to serve Yah with a willing mind. He told him to serve him with a perfect heart and a willing mind. So it's the mental legacy oftentimes you leave behind. The other things are just a plus, really. It's a standard, but that mental legacy, even with my mother, with my aunt actually, shout out to my aunt Khalida and my mom, they do things, they got certain mannerisms that I didn't see when my grandmother was alive. After my grandmother passed away, I see certain mannerisms, and especially in my aunt and my aunt and my mom, certain mannerisms like my aunt, she blinks her eyes a lot. My grandmother used to do that. There are certain legacies we leave behind from Abraham, Isaac to Jacob. It's the mental, spiritual legacy we leave behind that's the most important. That's why I wanted to give you a hand on that, because I think that's beautiful.
And see, you're going to be, no doubt, the same way, because you know the things like, especially when you have a son. We love our daughters. Don't get me wrong. We love our daughters. Matter of fact, our daughters are probably gonna get more, should I say, than our sons. But our sons, we're gonna tend to be a little harder on our sons, because they're one day, y'all willing, they're going to be men, and they're gonna have to have certain responsibilities, and we have to get them in the mold to where they're gonna take those responsibilities and wear them. You see what I'm saying? Knowing that I'm a man, this is my responsibility. One day I may have a wife, I may have a family. I need to be able to take care of this, or teach my son this or that. So a lot of times they get it from their father, especially when we have households that still have fathers in them. They're to help rear the children up. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So it's important.
Fatherhood is so important, though.
Oh my God!
Yeah, like you said, when you had that certain relationship with your father, but you went to the army, I'm sure that taught you a lot of those masculine principles.
There you go.
Yeah.
I also learned a lot, man, just from the people that were my teachers that I looked at as mentors and father figures, like Moray Leisha. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And he was hard on me. He was hard on me. But you see, here's the thing, I appreciated it. Not necessarily then, but as I started getting wiser, I appreciated the daggone wisdom. And then the fact that, you see, back when I was young, it used to be a time where old man could say, come here, boy, sit down, let me talk to you.
Yeah.
And they put a little something on your mind. Yeah. But as we got older, that faded, man. And especially these times, if I was to ask a little young fella, hey, come here, fella, let me talk to you, I might just be wanting to tell him to pull up his pants. No, it ain't that easy now.
They not listening. They don't value
they don't, man, because they walk around with their pants way down here, earphones in, a hoodie on, singing out loud, or just whatever, man. It's a different time. It's a different time. But see, here's the thing. Everybody don't know how to do what's best for them or their situation. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
Oh, no, that makes a lot of sense.
Everybody don't know how to even do what's right for self, because they're too busy trying to act like somebody else. I see individuals today, that male and females, the younger versions, that take bits and pieces from a song, bits and pieces from a TV show, bits and pieces from this friend or that friend, and try to build up who they are by just taking bits and pieces and fabricating themselves instead of growing into who they're supposed to actually be.
It's true. It's true.
And I just can't understand that, but I see it all the time.
I think it just comes from that lack of because fathers instill discipline. It's a lot of, and I think that's another, getting back to relationships. People today lack discipline, man. As women, and I'm gonna get on the women for a second, like in honest and in love. as a woman, you must have sexual discipline. That is one of that is the you contain the womb of our children, where our children come through. So within your vessel, that's a sacred space. And then we got to get on the men at the same time, because the men out here making whores out of them. Can't have a whore without the man.
Without a whoremonger.
Yeah.
Without a whoremonger.
So all of us have to take accountability for what's going on here. You know what I'm saying?
Both sides, men and women.
And fathers too. Fathers and mothers too. Elders too. Everybody have to take accountability. We as a nation have to, we literally have to take a step back and look at where we're heading right now as a people. We in a bad shape.
So how do you think we communicate that to here's the thing. A woman can't teach another woman's male's nature. Not unless it's an older woman. Should I say a young woman? You see what I'm saying? Yeah. A woman like that, they can teach a younger woman about a man's nature. But you got, if a woman is 35 and 40 and she ain't never had no serious relationship, she can't learn about a man's nature from some of her other single girlfriends. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. That's absolutely impossible. If you want to know a man's nature, talk to a man. Go talk to your uncle. Talk to your grandfather. Somebody who's been around for a long time. You see, they'll tell you how men are. That's just like if my daughter, she's not involved with any boys. I know that for a fact, period. But say if she wanted to know something about little boys. See, I've been a little boy before. You see what I'm saying? I've been a young man before. So they need to go to somebody who they know they're going to get the truth from. You can't go to somebody your same age, and ask them about somebody else, because they don't know nothing either.
Real talk.
They haven't been tried and tested.
And you know what? As you were saying what you were saying, all I could think about was that testimony with Rehoboam, Solomon's son, when he had went to he had listened to his young men.
Mistake. And see, that's how we learn, man. If you want to learn what a marriage is, first thing when you get involved in a marriage, throw away your track shoes.
Yes, sir.
Throw away them running shoes. Okay? If you want to be married, understand first and foremost that marriage is work. Guys, if you want to be married, understand it's two different personalities that's going to be united as one. You have to learn how to communicate. You have to learn how to listen. Marriage is work. That don't mean because it's work is bad, right? Some of us work a job, and that job don't have to be bad. We just have to know how to do the work. We have to know how to do our job. If we do our job, then it becomes more simplified. It's only when certain wrenches get thrown into the program that it becomes more complicated.
Facts.
But the bottom line is, a marriage is supposed to be a union that come together. That's supposed to be a lasting thing.
Yeah.
So for the men who are still considering marriage, for the women that are still considering marriage, go into whatever relationship that you're trying to develop with honesty. Yeah. Go into it with real integrity, understanding that there are going to be some ups and downs, especially say like if you get 10, 15, 20, 30, 45 years or something in, along the way, you've learned how to communicate and how to work with one another. You see what I'm saying? That way you still have that unity. You know how to communicate. But if you don't communicate, that relationship is not going to last. When there's issues, again, don't talk about too much about what the issue is. Talk about after you discuss that there is an issue. Now, how do we go about resolving it? That's it. It don't need to be an argument at all, because why try to win an argument and the situation stays the same or gets worse? So the thing is, we have to learn how to come up with some resolution, some resolve, and figure out, because along the way, just in life, I compare life to a roller coaster ride. You ever heard my scenario, that roller coaster ride? Here's life. Now think about this life for two, though. In a marriage, say the husband and wife is on that roller coaster. You ever been on a roller coaster?
Oh, yeah.
When you're going up the hill, say like in a marriage, that's just some slow time right there. That's some slow time. Things ain't necessarily probably going the way you want them to go. Things are slow. You're trying to get some adjustments. But once you get to the top, there might be a stop for a second. Might be just stop for not too long, but it's going to be a stop up there. Then things might start moving real fast as you're going downhill, right? But then as you're going downhill real fast, you might get thrown for a loop. Throw you off a little bit, right? You might go up some little things and down some little things. But the end result is once that ride stops, you have to ask yourself, how was it? But hopefully we put the work in so that we can enjoy the ride together, even though we have some bumps, even though we have some slow patches, even though sometimes things were just going really crazy, going fast. We have to ask ourselves at the end of it, how was the ride? And that ride is when it's done. Either that marriage is like you hung in there because nobody had the track shoes, but one of you are no longer there because that individual was now deceased or something. Because that's the way that it actually should be. You got something like this too, Wayne?
No, they just got here.
But you understand what I'm saying?
That was deep.
So at the end of it, did you treat him right? Did he treat you right? Did y'all ultimately have a good life together? See, you can't count the troublesome times, because if you were sort of like ride or die with one another, you expected it to be some difficult times. Because everything, especially marriage, is not easy. It don't have to be difficult, don't get me wrong. But it can be very pleasurable, very rewarding. And then you end up with a companion. But if you're at odds with one another, that can be a hell of a ride.
That's very true.
It can be a hell of a ride.
Very true. You want to do this reaction video?
Yeah, let's do this reaction video. And let's see what we got here.
All right, y'all. We're going to give y'all a reaction video.
It pretty much goes speak for itself, though. We just want to play it. Go ahead and play it. I'll respond to it. Matter of fact, let you respond to it. You a young man.
On the other half, I'll tell you, y'all be ready to revolt, say, oh, I can't rock with this. It's Candace Owens. Oh, she's a racist. She's all these things. Listen, I don't have to agree with the person 100% on all their views in order for me to like this person when it comes to certain things they stand on. That's not how I particularly operate. I operate on seeing that person and what they communicate and saying, okay, this is where I see her perspective, or this is where I see their perspective and I understand it. This is where I see their perspective and I understand it, but I don't agree with it. And that's just how I function. I can't tell anybody else what to do, but I think it's a travesty if you go through life only being open to people who agree with how you think. And that's what we see so much more nowadays in politics and in culture in our society, where everybody wants to kind of stay in their cliques. And if you don't want to agree with them, they don't want to hear you out as far as your perspective. And I want you guys to tune in, but I don't want you tuning in simply because I'm saying everything that sounds good to you. I will hope that I'm also saying things that challenge you to think maybe differently, to see life through a different lens, maybe to learn some things as far as about yourself and how you think and grow from that.
But if you were married,
if I was married, I still want to put my husband first.
Oh,
my
wait a
life.
minute, hold on a second. Okay, that could be why he doesn't want to get married, right? If you're saying, like, even if we get married, I'm putting myself first and I'm not putting you first. If I was a dude and I heard that, like, I would definitely say, okay, then I'm not going to marry you.
It's also about coming together. You know what I'm saying? It's also about a union. And I'm saying, what I'm saying is there's a lot of people... There's a lot of people nowadays that doesn't understand what a union is.
Well, if you...
I would beg to say she's one of those people. That statement she said from the very beginning, as far as she won't put her husband first, you're one of the people who obviously don't have a clear understanding of what a union looks like.
I would argue potentially that you're that person because you just said if we got married, I would still put me first. That's
Would he
not
put
a
me
union.
first though? Would a man put his wife first?
Yes.
So you should always
Yes.
What I'm saying is, I feel like you should always put yourself first. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes to a guy, you shouldn't put a guy over yourself. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, so I would offer that in a very productive marriage, there is no I versus, it's just we. Like I am in a partnership, a team, me and my husband. The concept of putting me first, even saying that just sounds so crazy to me in a marriage. Like I've never thought it once. It's just, it's us, it's the kids, it's our family. Like I becomes we. But if you were married.
If I was married, I still wouldn't put my husband first.
Listen, probably the number one rule once you are in a relationship, especially when you're married, specifically when you're married, you can no longer prioritize being selfish. It's not to say you can have times where you want to have moments to yourself, where you want to focus on you, where you want to, have your me time. It's not what that means. It just means you don't get to prioritize being selfish as far as that's the most important thing, or as she put it, putting you first. Man decides to get married, he's saying, I'm putting my family first. And how he does that will look different than what his wife does when she says, I'm putting my family first. Because their responsibilities in that relationship are not the same. If you're with somebody and you're constantly saying how selfish they are, they're selfish, what they're doing is selfish, get out that situation. Don't waste your time being in a relationship where that is the norm, because typically does not end well. You end up regretting it because you end up wasting more time trying to convince that person they need to change, and they don't change because they're selfish and they're thinking more so about them. Listen, marriage is about sacrifice. And if you're not ready to sacrifice, then just don't get married. Not meant for you. It's okay.
I've got to honestly say that I couldn't have put that better myself, because again, marriage is not a situation of where one could just be selfish. Yeah. I always put my wife first. You see what I'm saying? And I think in any marriage, the husband put that wife first, that wife put that husband first. Because again, even with the Almighty, when he talked to the woman, he said that her desire, he was talking to the woman, not the man. He told her that her desire should be to her husband. Meaning, now how can I please my husband? What would my husband like? You see what I'm saying? And that man, he knows that his responsibility is to his wife and his children. And a lot of times in today's marriages, people don't really understand that. So he's right. If a person is selfish, if it's about self, it can no longer be me, it's we. It's no longer you, it's us. And if a person goes into a marriage and they don't have that mentality, their marriage is going to suffer.
That's true. That's very true. I couldn't put it no better way. But we coming towards the end. One last thing I wanted to say is I appreciate today. A lot of wisdom came forth today, and I'm definitely walking out here a better man here on forward, and for myself, for the Creator, and for my children, my child and my future children. Hallelujah.
Praise the Most High, yeah. Yeah, man, we kind of really got into it today, and I don't think I covered too much over there, but it was still very enlightening, man. I know the Almighty was present here today.
Praise God.
And it makes a huge difference for myself. And I got to say this in closing. I know it may have sounded again like we're talking about all women and all men. Once again, I want to ensure you that I am not talking about all women, nor am I talking about all men, but I am talking about most right here in this Western Hemisphere. And I'm talking about here in the United States. So it's not just something that I am saying. I do a lot of research. I speak with a lot of people, and the stories are consistent. Even when you go on the internet, if you search those matters out, you'll find the same information that I'm finding, where people are literally saying out of their mouth and they will show you, right? And like I say, when I'm talking to guys, and one thing that you said that I really appreciate, I even have a friend that I call a peer, and he's but 33 years old. 33 years old, a wise young fella, and I like the fact that I can hold him accountable, and I even allow him to hold me accountable.
Man, I'm telling you, it's
You
the
know,
best feeling.
I got a lot of self-help tapes and audio tapes and things like that that I've given to him. He's sent some to me, man, because I've definitely been on this thing about self-improvement.
Yes, sir.
And I advise it for all of us, men and women. It makes a difference. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Go ahead and share this video. Give us a like and stay tuned. We have Let Us Reason coming up, hosted by Moray Aaron. All right. Once again, we appreciate everybody for tuning in. And if there's anything you would like us to talk about, you can reach out to us on our Facebook at Do Your Man Podcast. Or you can reach out to us here on YouTube by leaving a comment, and we'll be sure to address any questions or any topics you may like us to bring out. All right? Shalom and have a good day. God bless.